Welcome back to Tabletop Titans and our very first ever terrain showcase. We're really excited about this brand new series where we go through each of the sets of terrain that we play on and discuss why we love them, how they were made, a bit about them, and also talk about the history and learn some insights from our expert terrain maker, Zach Pfeiffer.
Thank you, so kind. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to talking some terrain.
You make some amazing tables, and this is one of the things I think that draws people to the channel is, you know, obviously there's us, obviously there's the game, but really the terrain is one of the main stars of the show. And so we thought we'd kick off the series with one of our favorite personal tables that we've got a lot of questions about in the past. It is, of course, the amazing Mars board. We're going to dive in and take a look about everything you need to know about this board. Let's do this. All right, so let's dive right in. And you want to tell us a bit about this board, what it's all about?
Yeah, the idea behind this board was something that had no plants. Up until this point, all of my boards, I love working with greenery, and I said, I want to do something totally the opposite. And I really had a few things I wanted to work with. First was this mat. This was a few years ago. This board's actually 6 years old now.
Oh, wow, is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And this mat was kind of new. It came out, and it was unique for the time. Most mats were all grass or all desert. This one kind of had a story going on. And I loved the red with like this blue sheen on top of it.
Right.
I thought that would be an interesting challenge to get the pink foam rocks to match.
Exactly.
Red and blue, right? So I was kind of into that. I also wanted to branch out and get a new skill that at the time I did not have, which was using weathering powders.
Yeah.
So the thought that, yeah, it should be red, it should be Mars. The mat, like I said, I loved.
Right.
And I wanted it to also be a place that, we build so many ruins in the 40K world. I wanted this place to be a place where maybe people still worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wouldn't want to work here.
Sure. It's you're working to death, but this could be like a functioning forge world or a factory area and something like that. It's weathered in the same way that like a ruin might be, but it's because of the actual environment. It's all just covered in this like rusty, dusty kind of desert space. I love that, and no plants. So really, you started with these kind of core concepts of like the mat, the color scheme, these restrictions for yourself personally, and kind of building off that a lot. I think that's really interesting, and one of the things that's really important to you is also like this color matching between everything.
Yes.
It's really cool. Do you want to tell us a bit about the process of kind of building the board?
Yeah, absolutely. So there were kind of two major things that were a little unique when I made this board.
Sure.
One was, this is one of the most, at the time, extensive uses of pink foam I had done.
They're massive.
Yeah, I wanted to make these rocks. You can actually see this is some of my early pink foam work. I didn't fill gaps. I didn't do a super great job filling gaps.
Right. That's some of these gaps that you guys can see here. Why do you have those gaps? Some people might not know actually why those exist in the first place.
Yeah, we're putting pink foam vertically upright.
Right.
Which maybe I wouldn't do if I did these again. I'd do it horizontal.
Sure.
And sometimes when you're buying pink foam for the first time, you forget to check to see if any of them are kind of warped.
Ah, yes.
Especially the warped ones will curve away a little bit, and you kind of end up with these gaps.
Right.
So the pink foam was one thing I really wanted to work with, and I wanted to get it color matched to the mat. I ended up with a final dry brush of like a blue that at the time was, I think, just like a Space Wolves or Fenris.
Yeah. Gray blue.
Yeah, so there is sort of like a blue dry brush late in the pink foam stage. And then the other thing, like I said, I really, the weathering was unique for this. I after painting everything and tinting it, mostly with non-oil, a lot of the Sector Mechanicus pieces.
Right.
After tinting it, I used 3 different secret weapon miniatures, weathering powders. It was a brick red, an orange, and then the last one was like a cream, kind of like a tan color. And sort of wove them together in and out. The orange is sort of the main one. I think in my pattern, the orange was my recipe. The orange was the most heavily used.
Right.
And so kind of blending them together, and then I mixed them with a fixative, like in a very wet style.
Oh, interesting.
So they kind of slathered around and made a big red-orange mess. And the GW ruins, these GW kits, have so many great places for weathering powder, this liquid, this slurry of fixative and powders to settle.
Yeah, you've got all these little crevices and cracks that they can fall into, right?
Exactly. And as it dried, I love the look. So
that's great.
yeah, it was really pink foam, build a bunch of terrain, paint a bunch of stuff, and then weather everything heavily weather.
The weathering does so much for it. I think a lot of 40K terrain is quite stylized. And this metal, when I look at it, it feels so realistic. Like it looks like a rusty piece of metal, right? Even just sitting on a table. So it's really cool to see this very different style. It's almost photorealistic, to be honest. And it looks amazing. I also like that you did use 3 different weathering powders, and you kind of use this to create all this variance across it, right? It's not just flat. It's not all just weathered or washed exactly the same way. Some parts have these different pools. And I think that really adds a lot to the board. That adds a lot to like the dynamics of the board. Really, really cool stuff. So we've heard a little bit about how you made the board. Was there something? Were you keeping like the gameplay in mind, or like the layout of the table in mind? How much of this was part of your process when building the Mars board?
For a while, it was just the Sector Mechanicus stuff and these pink foam rocks, the red rocks. Once 8th edition came and the game got really lethal in the shooting phase, that's actually when I made these concrete slabs to just give a little bit more line of sight blocking. Now, thankfully, in 9th edition, we have obscuring, and players can really kind of decide any of these Sector Mechanicus pieces can be obscuring, which is really nice because I don't have to stress about saying, okay, I need more line of sight blocking, more line of sight blocking. Anything can almost be line of sight blocking.
Exactly.
When I built it though, it was a very different board. Line of sight blocking wasn't as important in 7th Ed. Cover was important.
Now, we've talked about how amazing the board is, how much we love it, but do you have a personal favorite 2 items in this board that you love?
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of, you see these kind of small tins with little bits on them.
Totally.
And I don't make a lot of found object terrain. In general, I think it's hard to make look good and hard to make look not like the thing everyone knows it is.
Yep.
But for whatever reason, I was just like, you know what? I've got some cans, and I've got a couple of different sizes of cat food cans. I've got this can probably of tomatoes or vegetables. Some kind of wider, larger tin here. The sardine tin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I think I can actually make these work on the board because they're going to get tinted a lot. They're going to get weathered a lot. And I've got all these Imperial runes. We all have millions of Imperial runes laying around. As I became known as the guy that made terrain, people just gave me more and more bits. So I had all these little bits around, and I said, I think I can actually make this work.
They look great. I think the sardine can, I actually didn't even realize until just now. Because you also do a thing where, again, kind of coming back to this idea of modularity, you supplement them onto a different part of the board or a different thing. Like in this case, we have them sitting here on top of like the pink foam, and they like help each other out. Like the pink foam feels less like pink foam, and the sardine can feels less like the sardine can. It's like, oh, they're integrated as one piece.
Okay, the centerpiece, which is this kind of spooky face, and in the foreground, there's actually this hand that goes with it. The face is a styrofoam head that people used to store wigs on. And if you get up close and look, you can actually see that styrofoam.
You get a bit of that texture.
Early work of mine, I did not do a super strong job of smoothing it out. But again, I kind of liked the way the weathering ended up picking it up. So I was kind of okay with it. Maybe those are things we just tell ourselves, but people seem to like it.
I think so. Yeah, this is honestly one of the things that catches people's eyes when they see this board. Is this amazing, this gorgeous like head kind of carved out of the rock face.
My idea for this piece was that they had found some sort of alien xenotech or ancient human culture, and it was really an archaeological dig. It was sort of the initial idea for this board. And this is whatever it is they found, they're working on it. The Sector Mechanicus stuff can be positioned to kind of go around it to make it look like scaffolding that they're like working on. So that was really the idea. And this centerpiece, I love a centerpiece in my board. They're not always they don't always play the best.
Sure.
But I love having one available because it's something that just like draws somebody walking by in.
Yeah, they're like, oh, what is that?
That's always
And
the
they're,
goal.
You know, what G-Dub's kit is that? And
Right.
like, no, it's not.
It's a wig. It's used to store wigs.
It's so good. I love it. This is it's one of my favorites about this board, honestly. And like I said, so iconic. And again, I know at the time of recording, we are 9th edition, and it's so playable. If you don't have an objective in the middle, it's always the centerpiece of the battlefield. So just really cool stuff. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm sure a lot of people, as soon as they saw this video, were wondering, what is that head? Now you know. Now you know how it was made. You can go ahead and try it at home yourself. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing the first of many of your gorgeous boards. We, of course, have seen this many times on the battlefield, and it's nice to really take a deep dive and also pause for a moment and just appreciate the amazing board that you made.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to make them. It's a passion of mine, and I look forward to sharing more.
Yes, absolutely. This is, as I mentioned, just the very first of this terrain showcase series. We're going to be going through all of Zach's boards, talking about them, looking at them. Let us know in the comments below what you thought. If you did enjoy it, do give us a like and subscribe. It helps us create more content, and also know what you guys are interested in, right? Let us know in the comments below if you're going to be trying out any of these things. Do you have your own mannequin wig head projects that you want to try out? And if there's any other kind of types of terrains or types of tables you would like to see later on, we're always open to hearing what you guys are thinking. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can of course become a member, hit that join button right below, and join us for our Tuesday games with our members, where we also like to showcase new boards. So thank you all so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time on the Tabletop.